Today we're going to provide a presentation to talk about profits and ways to increase profits in your business. Today our very generous hosts, Southern Automatic, have invited us to present this content to you today, and we look forward to sharing with them and sharing with you this information. Just a quick intro. I'm Steve Marcinetti. I'm the president of CCI Card Concepts. Presumably you may know we are a manufacturer of electronic payment systems, dedicated and focused in the laundromat industry. And some other quick tips about me is that not only am I involved in a manufacturing process of these products, but also an owner of multiple laundromats here in the Chicagoland area where we're headquartered. And I've been in the business for 22 years ago. And thanks to my generous team, as we were discussing this morning, that photo looks like it might have been taken 22 years ago. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started with the material. So obviously there's a number of things that we want to discuss today that are going to kind of allude to ways that you can increase your profitability in your stores. And so the first thing that we wanted to share with you is some ideas about competition and your demographics, and certainly about pricing. And the general consensus here is to make sure that you are, you look at yourself as either a price leader or a price follower. And I think that more importantly is to evaluate your value proposition and make sure that you are targeting the right demographic based on your value proposition. And that can be done through evaluating your equipment mix and determining whether you're satisfying the need in the area. And obviously evaluating how your area has changed maybe since you opened. And the way I like to look at it is there's really no new laundry that is made year after year. It's just a matter of redirecting the processing of that laundry from one location to another. And generally said, we have to look at all of our competitors. The competitors are not always just other laundromats. Many times our competitors are multi-housing facilities. There's a great convenience to having a laundry room in your building, but generally speaking, those multi-housing properties don't have capacity. They may be convenient by location, but they may not be convenient by availability. And I think that's where laundromats can really stand out. So when we talk about equipment mix, really maximizing a user's availability for a machine is where we kind of stand ahead. And I think you need to look at your overall position to determine whether or not, again, your value proposition for availability fits the needs. The other thing to look at, to consider when we talk about your competition and the demographics of your area is that we have to remember that the task of doing laundry is generally a habit task. My wife always does laundry on Mondays, and there's not much I can do to change her habit of getting laundry done on Mondays. That's just the way she's always done it, and there's really not much I can do. I'd have to do something pretty significant to change that. And I think we have to remember that, because I would imagine that most consumers fall into that same category where it's a task, it's a habit. And if someone is doing laundry in their apartment building today, and that's the way they've been doing it for years, how do we convince them to go elsewhere? And I think that's that value proposition. What can you do? Is it price? Is it availability of equipment? Are the services that you offer? Are the promotions and the loyalty options that you make available? I think we have to make sure that when we're considering ways of increasing profit, we have to look at our value proposition and consider, where is the laundry being done today, and what can I do to change that laundry habit? If they're not doing business with you today, how do we change that? So I think On top of that, we talk about the competition of stores as well, and it's important to make sure that their value proposition enumerates correctly with yours. If they're doing something that is drawing attention in their direction, then that's something to pay a note to as well. But I think, and generally speaking, it's about changing habits, and whatever you can do to encourage someone to change habits is going to benefit you. And we'll talk a little bit about some of those ways in a moment. The next thing to consider is to streamline your management, and certainly employees are a big part of that. And so anything that you can do to leverage automation with your employees, whether it's to managing their time and their payroll, that certainly needs to be considered. The less time spent managing employees, the more time spent building your business, and more time spent marketing your business. I would also say, just from my own experience in our own stores, that the laundries that typically seem to perform the best, I can tell you, are generally are staffed with employees that really have do a great job. And finding good help is never easy, but I think that if we spend an appropriate amount of time training, that we can help leverage really that underutilized factor, which is that human factor of a laundry, and having an attendant that remembers customers when they come back, assists them at the car with their laundry, helps them when they have concerns, is really important. And the way that really, I think, is accomplished is through training. And so I think empowering your employees to be able to handle situations through training is something that we all need to consider as a way to not only make our lives easier, but again, it will allow your employees to be empowered, allowing you to have more time to focus on attracting new business. There's a lot of forums and resources out there where you can learn about others' experiences, other store owners' experiences, and it reminds me of a recent post by someone just kind of talking about watching their store remotely and watching the trash pile up in the trash bin through their camera system, and just the struggles with trying to keep people on task. And again, leveraging automation is a way to help streamline management. And again, we'll get to it, but there are ways you can do that through an automation process as well. It would seem obvious, but one of the ways to increase your profit is to make price adjustments. And I think regardless of what you're doing now, you need to take a hard look of whether or not you are pricing yourselves appropriately. Generally, laundries are resistant to price changes. I think it's because most laundries are owned by independent entrepreneurs, and they have a very blinded view of their market. And so it's important that we evaluate what it cost us to do laundry, to process laundry, and then ultimately make sure that we're making adjustments to that price. The example that I use often is laundries are utility companies. We try to buy gas, water, and electricity at the lowest price possible, and we like to sell those utilities through the use of our equipment at a profit of some sort, and in a way enough that allows us to manage our business and meet our goals. If your cost of doing business, your utility cost increases, then and you don't make an adjustment to your retail vend price, obviously your profit margin is going to shrink. And so there's a number of challenges with that. If you are a quarter operated store, you have a quarter increment in which to make those adjustments. And so there are some challenges associated with that, particularly in the fact that if you only have a 5 or 10% increase in utility costs, it can be difficult on a 25-cent dryer start to increase the vend price by 10 or 15%. So what often happens is there's usually a reduction in service that's provided, so we might shorten the amount of time that a quarter provides, but that has perception issues associated with that. And I think the best example there is most consumers expect things and prices to change. It's just kind of a natural retail experience. If I go to the market to buy a gallon of milk, and I paid $3 for that gallon of milk this week, it may not be $3 next week. You know, it may be 3.25 next time we go. And I think what's important is to realize that the perception of that price change is different than changing the service itself. So if I was to go in and that gallon of milk was still $3, but it was only filled 80%, I think I would have a very different perception of whether or not I was getting my full value for that. And I think we need to remember that before we change the time on our dryers or reduce the number of cycles that our machines are running, rather than just increasing the pricing appropriately to the value of the machine and to the service that we're offering. So it's important. Of course, you want to be strategic about your adjustments. You know, change the prices by equipment size, do them over time. If you have a payment system that supports penny incremental pricing, obviously there's great option there to raise prices by a few pennies at a time, and not have the jumps of 25 cents that you typically have with a coin store. And there's a big benefit in that. Again, to kind of call upon the perception concept here with pricing, is that when you move to some type of electronic payment option, you go away from the perception of coins and counting coins. And when you visit the laundry this week and the 30-pounder is $3.50, and then you go next time you have to add an extra 2 quarters to start that machine, that can provide a perception issue for your customer. Going to a card system or some type of alternative payment option, inserting a card and pulling that card out, or swiping that card, or using your phone to start the machine, the perception of the price change from one week to the next is hidden. It's similar to why when you go to Las Vegas or to go to some gambling facility, you don't put cash generally down on tables and slot machines. Everything is kind of changed to a token system or a card system or some type of chip-based system to kind of separate the value away from the transaction a little bit. And I think payment systems can help with that. So. But perception is really key to making adjustments. And again, when we talk about some of the things that are available, there may be options where payment system can help you with that. The next thing is to build loyalty, and loyalty comes in a number of different factors. I think loyalty, one, is somewhat driven by habit. But that habit has to be formed at some point. Loyalty is built by potentially maybe where you're physically located. Could be by your pricing. But then there are things that you can do to draw more loyalty to your facility, whether that's by providing discounts, whether it's providing, in some instances we've seen stores do free dry promotions where they have their dryer set to free. And there are ways to do that without coin. There are ways to do it with coin. We can certainly show you ways to maybe minimize some of the issues with offering free dry with a payment system. Of course, one of the challenges by not having a payment system is just some of the abuse that comes along with that. But if you can put the words free in your window, there's no question that it'll draw attention. And I think that's how we start to change habits, by offering something that they can't get elsewhere that increases that kind of perceived value to allow them to want to do business in a different way, or to process their laundry in a different way. Coupons, everyone likes a coupon. Coupons are a great tool to kind of get your message out, to advertise your store, and to entice someone to come in and redeem some kind of special for paying notice. And certainly there are ways to offer coupons with attendance and do things that way. Again, if you are leveraging some type of payment system, there should be ways to leverage that system to automate a coupon and automate the redemption of that coupon without the attendant being present. Some stores use loyalty points. I've seen simple mechanisms of this where it's as simple as a punch card. Someone comes in and they punch cards, and then that card gets filled up, then an attendant might start a machine for free, similar to how a sandwich shop might stamp your card and issue you a free sandwich once the card's full. And again, if you have some sort of payment system, certainly we offer an option with called Wash to Win. It's a loyalty points program that works very similarly, except it's fully automated. So whether you're a tenant or not, we can use these systems to help attract customers and build that loyalty. And then many of the modern equipment available today supports time of day pricing, and this can be leveraged in a couple of different ways. It may be leveraged in a way to increase volume on a slow day. And so if you, as most stores are typically slower midweek, you may find that adjusting prices on those given time periods or days will help you draw more business that way. And I typically look at that from a capacity perspective actually as well, is that you may be able to attract some of your existing customers from the weekend times to come in during the week, which will open up availability of those machines to those customers who cannot come in midweek, whether it's because of a job or something like that. So, really shifting customers and balancing out when you're processing can have a big impact on availability, which ultimately will increase your volume and your profit. And then certainly there are ways to do discounts in various senses. We have options with our product to allow you to target specific groups of individuals in your market, whether that be a school or a church, or maybe it's a swim team that has a presence in your area, and you want to attract the families of that organization to come visit you. Leveraging a way to group those people together and provide them promotions as a targeted approach is a way to not only build goodwill towards that group, but obviously increase your volume. And so there's a number of ways that we've built to automate that capability and to provide you a way to kind of keep track of that, of those offers and discounts. Obviously, I'd be remiss to not consider that if you're not accepting a payment through a payment system today, that's something you might want to consider. We've over and over again been able to prove that migrating from a coin-based system to a card-based solution not only can provide you with increased management capability, but increase your profit, reduce the amount of time you have, give you more loyalty options, and introduce a concept called float. And I typically like to, when people are coin store operators today and considering going to a card system, kind of reminding them of why they are considering getting into this business, or reconsider why they bought a store to begin with. And typically investors get into this business for a number of reasons, and some of those may be because there's not a lot of employees to manage, there's minimal inventory, there's kind of a flexible time. You have you have loyal customers based on being an essential service, being a cash business. There's a number of reasons why people are typically attracted to this business. And when I look at all of the benefits that a payment system can offer you, it really just it enhances all of the reasons why people consider this business. We provide you with automated management systems. We give you the ability to maintain profit through vend price changes, and be able to make those changes very simple. We help you regain time by automating things with your employees and automating loyalty programs, and basically allowing you to spend more time marketing your business. And then we introduce the concept of float. And for those who may not be familiar with that, is that the traditional laundromat is designed as a pay-as-you-go service. So people leveraging quarters are going to insert quarters as they start machines, and they're going to leave with the excess coins when they're finished with their visit. Migrating to a payment system like a laundry card or a fast card system will allow you to start to collect payment in advance. And in this example, they may put $10 on a card, they may spend $8, and then they're going to leave at the end of their visit with that $2 remaining on the card, with full intentions of coming back maybe next week to use that $2, add more value to it. But what happens is that that small amount of money that's left on the card builds up over a course of many customers, and we call that float. It's the difference between what someone has added to their account, to their card, versus what they've spent. And we have seen a tremendous amount of increased revenue and profit, for that matter, be leveraged, be experienced by store owners purely from that perspective. In some cases, and a best example of that, if we want to extend it past our own industry, would be the restaurant industry loves selling gift cards. And primarily the reason why they love selling gift cards is because they know that there's a certain percentage of those gift cards that are never redeemed. And I would say that is one of the benefits, but it's also float. They get their customers to pay for the service before they come, and they get to kind of hold that money as kind of a promise to come in and use it later. And so float has become a big part of how our customers have been able to leverage everything they can about their payment system, and one of the reasons why people generally consider it. Of course, there are some other things that you may want to consider as part of increasing your profit. And I think that in these kind of unique times that we are in, that this is a perfect opportunity to reconsider your lease potentially. There's a lot of retail spaces that are emptying because some businesses have struggled to stay solvent during this time, and those landlords that own those properties may generally be more willing to negotiate leases to help businesses stay solvent, stay in business. And so if there's ever an opportunity now to go back to your landlord and find out if there's a way to improve your lease, or to renegotiate a better term, or make adjustments, now is the time to certainly do that. Aesthetics are important. I think historically, laundromats have traditionally had kind of a poor reputation when it comes to aesthetics, but I think that is slowly changing. And I think if you visit some of the newer stores that are being built, you're seeing more attention being paid to aesthetics. We're seeing some larger operators enter the industry and build stores with a much higher focus on aesthetics. And I think that if you have an older store, at the very minimum, keeping a store that is hyper clean, I mean, just absolutely spotless, and having just basically spotless bathrooms can have a huge impact on the perception of your business, certainly as it compares to other stores, and even for that matter compares to some of the laundry rooms that we see in multi-housing facilities. The bottom line is that our customers want to feel safe, they want to feel cleaner when they left than when they came in, and we need to uphold that. We need to uphold that kind of promise to them. Utilities, of course, we mentioned utilities being really our cost factor, and there's really not much we can do to eliminate the utilities, but there are certainly things we can do to minimize our utilities. And I would say that probably the two best ways to do that are to look at purchase programs. So there are a number of companies out there that will allow you to lock in rates, whether it be gas or electricity, kind of depends on where you live. And so basically give you kind of a committed rate over a period of time to kind of flatline your known costs. But the other way is to look at efficiency and equipment. So there's been enormous technological improvements over the last few years to improve the efficiency of laundry equipment. And so certainly with our hosts at Samco, we would certainly encourage you to look at the age of your equipment and to consider whether or not there's a good opportunity for you to maybe retool some of your equipment. The high extract speeds that are available, some of the cycle modifications that are available, some of the upgrade options that are available to consumers on some of the more modern equipment, all aid in really adjusting for that utility expense that we need to process our machines, but we can leverage it better now to increase our profits. So certainly those are things that should be considered. And then certainly lastly, marketing. And there are some very low cost to free options to better market your store. Obviously, we're all here communicating online at the moment through this presentation. And at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we're leveraging these utilities and leveraging these systems to make sure that your business is properly being marketed to the customers in your area. Some of the simple things to look at, and there are lots of resources to help you get started with this, but make sure you claim your Google business page. If you're not leveraging a Facebook presence, you certainly should be doing so. There are just been no better ways than there's ever been to promote yourself in a way that is easy to consumers. Seeing if you're able to build a Twitter following and post coupons through that, it'll attract more consumers that way. And really the best way to consider social media is the word of mouth. It's the modern day word of mouth. And so if you're promoting a free dry special to your Facebook users, trust me, that will get spread on its own without you having to do anything. And placing it on a platform that makes it very easy for people to spread that word is really the value there with some of those mechanisms. So marketing is an important part, and there's some resources. I think they're very low cost that you can take advantage very quickly. So that's that. Kind of finally, we wanted to be sensitive to your time and really just introduce some of the ideas that we have about laundry and managing it. But we would be, again, remiss to not thank our host, Samco at Southern Automatic, for helping us put this together and present this to you. I also wanted to introduce Michael Sokolowski, who is our National Sales Manager for our vended retail environment, who certainly can assist with understanding the CCI products that are available. And his contact information is here on the screen for you. And certainly information can be resourced through Samco as well. But together, Samco and CCI, we wanted to put together a special thank you for participating today. And so those who have registered and participated today, we've got a special for every 10 readers that you purchase, we'll provide one at no charge. And Southern Automatic is kind of sweetening the deal a little bit further by offering an extended 15-month labor warranty on any equipment purchased as being a participant in this event. And so that is really our content for this afternoon. We greatly appreciate your patience with us with some of our technology issues earlier, and really appreciate you being a part of our session.